Hey, welcome, guys. It is October 21st already. October 21st, a beautiful Wednesday, October 21st. I can't believe they say it's like 8 weeks until the holidays, until Christmas. I'm like, what? So I'm grateful to be in the last quarter of a very unique year. For me, 2020 has been a year about growth. You know, when things are hard and things are tough, I'm so happy and grateful that Randy and I have a habit, one of our habits that we've created, one of our familiar practices that we've chosen is when we don't know what to do, we go to development. When we don't know what to do, we go to seeking wisdom. And so that had, created a new habit this year where all of us started reading high level books together, really getting through some content. I mean, when you guys think about the books that we've read, y'all, this ain't normal. And we've been consistent. If you're new, I'm grateful. Thank you for joining us for some growth. We are on the book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. I've had so many of you guys say, I would have never picked this up. There's no way. I feel you. Technically, we didn't pick this. It kind of picked us. And so I'm really grateful to have you guys as a community where we can read stuff like this together, because come on, y'all. Whoa. Listen, I'm not even judgy for those of you who haven't been able to really read this and read it at the pace that we've read it. I'm not judgy because I know it's thick content. I'm grabbing a water, one sec. Left my water right on the table. Thank you guys. So I'm not even judgy if you haven't been able to get through this at the same pace that we have, for real. But what I do want to make sure is I want to make sure you get through it at some pace, okay? At your pace. Guys, this has been so rewarding. Every sentence, for real. Every sentence. It's a lot, but every sentence has been rewarding. And so I want you to have that experience. Now, I knew I was gonna drop water. Now, I've said this before. If you're new to being committed to reading, you might have said things in the past like, well, I intend to read, then I start reading and my brain gets tired or I fall asleep. Well, I mean to read, but then, I be getting lost and thinking about other things. And like, oh, that's why I listen to audiobooks. I get it. That's powerful. But audiobooks are not the same as reading. And he even talks about that in this book. He talks about how actively reading, focuses your eyes and therefore your brain on just those words. You are no longer a stress ball of emotions reacting to the big three. And what have we learned? What are the big three? The big three are my environment, my body, my time. My environment, my body, my time. I'm a victim to always thinking about my environment, my body, my time. All right. And so what do we got to do to escape being a ball of emotions that's addicted to looking at the big three, that's addicted to the emotions and the stress and the anxiety and all, even sometimes the happiness, addicted to those emotions that are influenced by the big three: my time, my body, my environment, right? What do we do so that we are no longer a product? We're just no longer a vessel that's purpose is to react to what's happening in the big three. That's what this chapter is really about. This chapter is, how do we escape being just reactive, right? So we've learned about the big three. That's what we're always reacting to, all right? And we've learned about the parts of the brain. We have the part of the brain whose job is to understand the data coming in from the world, from the environment, the body, the time, to understand that data, translate that data, and then things happen. Maybe chemicals are created, hormones are created, assumptions are made, feelings are had. An interpretation of the data, right, leads to some type of chemical reaction. Okay, maybe it's you get stressed out every time you're in traffic, right? You're one of those people that you get angry, upset, frustrated, anxiety, every time you're driving in traffic. These people can't drive. Oh, I swear these people can't drive, right? Angry. Believe it or not, you're hooked on that emotion. You're getting hooked on it. It's like you're hit, whether you know it or not. So your body is creating these chemicals. We've talked about all this. And we talked about what the brain is doing, the parts of the brain and what they're doing. And the fact that we are less than 5% consciousness, awake, looking around and focused on the external world. We are less than 5% that, but that's where all our energy goes because that's what we see. And we turned ourselves into these little reactive beings because something experienced by the DNA, by the genes for a prolonged period of time, it becomes part of who you are, right? If your mom was a yeller and her mom was a yeller and now you're a yeller, you don't mean to yell, you don't like yelling, you hate it. At the end of the day, you feel so guilty for lashing out like that, but that's what you saw, that's what's familiar, that's what you choose. The brain chooses whatever it sees. It's just a product of its experiences. You have to now unwire that and say, and say, boom, what's in this chapter? How do I unlearn this? I don't want to yell no more. I don't want to be a yeller no more. I hate it. I don't like it about myself. I don't want to stress eat no more. I don't like that about myself. I don't want to gossip no more. I don't like that about myself. How do I unwire these things that were first my experience, then became something I practiced, then became a habit, then became my character, then became my personality? How do I undo the wiring? And he teaches us how to reverse engineer the things about ourselves we need to break, right? Breaking the habit of being yourself. And so that's what this chapter is about. And ooh, it was good. It's good. It's dorky and it's amazing. I really hope that you read it for yourself. But I'm basically going to go through and talk to you about the parts that I highlighted, noted, written. I can never sell my books. They're like, they look trash. They're written all inside of, but I want to just focus on some of the key points that really stood out to me and maybe help you see some of the lessons that I learned. Cool. I appreciate you guys all in the chat box, just, having input and interacting. I love it. If you're not looking at the chat box, open it up just to kind of see some of the side conversation you guys have. This chapter is about meditation. Now, this is going to be a good one, especially for those of you that are Christian, right? A lot of times in religion, we have laws, okay? And sometimes we don't know the belief behind the law. We just have laws, right? And it's okay to know the belief behind the law. I've always wondered, what do people mean when they say meditation? Like, there's that part of me that's like, I don't know about that. Am I supposed to be doing that? Am I supposed to be doing that? Am I okay to go to yoga? I don't really know, right? Like, these are things that people think. And one of the first things that we learn is that you have to first really practice self-awareness. You really need to know self. If you want to repair anything, you got to know self. So the first thing he's going to tell us is how to know self. Because if you don't know self, you can't reverse engineer anything. You can't unwire anything. And guess where people fail? Knowing self. When Randy talked about the gap, who you are and who you pretend to be, right? We all have that. Every one of us are guilty. And so now we want to talk about unwiring the stuff. We can take steps towards freeing up the necessary energy to become our ideal self. So in the very beginning, we talked about you need to know that there is an endless amount of probabilities in the world, right? If you guys have kids, you've probably seen Spider-Man universe, whatever. And the crazy thing is there's these crazy variations of different types of Spider-Mans in different universes. I'm like, there's really a Looney Tunes Spider-Man as a pig. But when you watch the movie, they make it make sense because they're like, there's an infinite amount of universes. You exist in so many forms. You exist, if you exist in thought, it exists. There's so many forms of you that exist. And the problem is that we are focusing on what we have been. We're focusing on past experiences, and we use that data to determine who we are and how we react. But that's not even how the brain's supposed to be best used. The brain is best used not looking back at a log of data and making assumptions from that, making decisions from that. The brain is best used as a map, not a log. And the map is supposed to be you looking at possibilities of the future. What could you see? What is your ideal self? The best self. What do they look like? What do they smell like? What does their physique look like? What does their eating habits look like? What does their prayer life look like? How do they use their mouth? How do they use their words? What's their posture? How are their relationships? What is their relationship with money? What is their relationship with success? Who is that ideal self, right? And what this tells us is that instead of being focused on what you have been and what the world has given you, instead look to the divine possibilities, all the possibilities, and focus on one. Which one do you like? This is why it's so vital to be careful what we talk to children about. And it says that in this chapter, be so careful to not tell your children things like, oh, you just like your daddy. Oh, you just like your mama. Even little things like, oh, you made that face just like your daddy. That might be innocent to you, but to that child's subconscious, you've just set in stone who they are. That's why it's important what we say. That's why if you are suffering with getting your tongue under control, you got to get that thing under control. A loose tongue gets you a whole life that you don't even want. And I know that that's something to learn to do. I had to learn to do that, but I want you to commit to learning to get that tongue under control, because that tongue will walk you straight into a destiny you don't want. Get that tongue under control. You are kings and queens expected to give good energy for the rest of this world. Your energy and your love is supposed to sustain everyone that comes in contact with you. You can't do that purpose if you're using your tongue, this little 2 inches of what couple ounces of meat, this one muscle causes you to just destroy your outer world. This thing right here, get that thing under control. You might have to pray over it. You might have to confess. You might have to stand in the mirror and say, I command you, not the other way around. Okay? Get that tongue under control. Because if you can't get that tongue under control, you can't get the mind under control, you can't sit and know who you are, you can't ever reverse engineer the damage. You can't ever go towards ideal self. You block you. Okay? So we got to take steps to become the ideal self. And the first step is we got to have energy to do that. It takes a lot of energy to think about your ideal self. All right. And you got to make it clear. You got to know who it is. We talked about this. Work towards being more observant instead of reactive. That's how you free up energy. So what we do is we use a lot of our energy to be like, oh my God, today, man, my boss was really getting on my nerves. Man, the kids and I had a fast morning. I was rushing them out the door. You know, Junior didn't even get to eat. I feel so bad. Man, my boss getting on my nerves. Look at all this work. You know, I'm tired of them taking advantage of me. You know, I haven't gotten a pay raise and I see these people coming, and you start just going. You know what I mean? You start just going. You start just going. That is you using your brain as a log. That is you using your energy to think about the past, to be analytical, to be observant, instead of to be creative, to be focused on the divine future, to be focused on the possibilities and the probabilities. And what you must do, what you must tap into is something that only humans have that animals do not have. And that is called metacognitive abilities. Metacognitive, meta around, right? Basically, full scope of, full omnipresent, metacognitive, aware. I'm not just aware of my body. Some of us aren't even aware of that. Some of us are not even aware of that. And it's okay. You're on your journey. No shame. Self-compassion first. Self-awareness second. Self-education, then change. So self-compassion. Okay, cool. You're on your journey. You fail to control your body. You know what I'm talking about. If you can't control your body. If you say get up out the bed and the body don't get out the bed. If you say don't eat that and the body eats that. That's like having a dog that's out of control. Right? You got a tongue that just gossip like, damn, I didn't mean to tell that secret and I told it. You got to get the body under control. And sometimes that means being metacognitive. The only chance really you have actually is to be metacognitive. Change cannot happen without self-awareness. We all got that person. It's real easy to apply this to others. I want to encourage you that as I'm talking, that you don't do what it's so easy to be like, oh, I know someone she's talking. There's someone I know that she's talking about. Like, I wish they were on this thing. I love you. That's a good way to understand it first, but then immediately you need to translate it to self. Okay, let's talk about me. Where am I flawed? Focus on self. And when the brain starts thinking about, then you focus on you immediately, okay? So he talks about monitoring your thoughts. You got to monitor your thoughts. You got to be metacognitive. So here's an example. You ever been on a diet and 3 hours into the diet, you just finish a really good meal and you're like, damn, I forgot I was on a diet. Oh man. No, just me. Man, I really forgot I started a diet. That's because the body is in control, not the mind. Okay? If you have a porn addiction, that's because the body is in control, not the mind. You're hooked on those chemicals. Okay? If you have a gossiping problem, you know you have one, you're like, dang, I've been trying to control this tongue. You got to understand that there's a series of chemicals that you get. And a lot of times you might even just, it might look how innocent it could be. You're getting high off being able to relate to someone, be able to have good conversation with someone. But that's your tool that you use. You might use gossip. So in order to change anything, you got to first go out of the body. Okay. Here's the best way I know how to kind of make this make sense. I want you to close your eyes with me. All right. Close your eyes. All right. Big cleansing breath. All right. We're not going to get too weird. Take your shoulders away from your ears. Relax your tongue off the roof of your mouth. Like, dang, how'd she know? Because you're literally living in stress reaction mode. Release your tummy, ladies. Okay? Your eyes are closed. What happens when your eyes are closed is the neocortex, the front part of the brain. That's like I call it like the panic part of the brain, right? The data collector. This is where it collects everything happening in our external, and we're translating it immediately with chemicals and hormones, right? Well, when the neocortex is not doing its job, like right now, because your eyes are closed, it looks to the rest of the brain, and it's the conductor of the brain. So it looks to the rest of the brain and it taps its table and it lowers its hands and the orchestra gets quiet. So closing your eyes can stop the flood of data constantly coming into your body. And what I want you to do is I want you to kind of feel yourself be your mind. Be mindful. What are you thinking about? Tell the brain that it's time to be quiet. All other stuff, just push pause. Just pause it. Just click the remote. Pause all of the stuff going on. Pause everything happening, everything you're worried about, the calls you're missing, what the kids are doing in the background, just for a quick second. As long as you're safe, just pause it all. Okay? That's your mind. Okay? This is your mind. We don't spend enough time here. Your breathing should be calm. You should be calm. You should not be jittering. If there's a part of your body that's jittering, your foot's shaking, your arm's shaking, something shaking, you need to tell the body it's time to stop. You're going to pause even the anxiety. Stop. Command it. You're the mind. The mind needs to take over the body. When the mind tells the body it's time to stop eating, you stop eating. Because the mind is in control. You say it out loud. Mind is in control. Body, you must submit. When the mind tells the body, don't you dare say that. Don't say that. Don't react. Don't say that about that person. Don't react. Don't get angry. Be patient. Don't yell. Mind, when mind says that to body, body must listen. The body needs to get back into line. It's been in charge too long, like a little lost toddler, like an uncontrollable pet, just doing what it wants. It stops now. The mind is aware. We're aware there's a mind. Now the mind's going to start telling the body what to do. How much time do you spend here in the mind? Not worrying. See, not being analytical, not worrying about your problems. Being aware, there's a difference. Awareness versus analytical. If you're analytical, you're not in the mind. If you're aware, you're in the mind. This is where we go for meditation. This is where we go for prayer. For me, this is where I go to God. This is where I pray. This is where I think about possibilities and purpose. I thank for wisdom. I let go of ego. I ask for agenda to be exposed. This is where I go. Maybe this is where you go, you meditate, you pray, but the eyes must be closed so that the neocortex shuts down and stops interpreting massive amount of data. When you read, this is where you go. When you're painting, this is where you go. When you're dancing, this is where you go. When you're scrapbooking or whatever it is you do, that time gets lost and you're in the creative process. You're in the mind. This is the mind. Okay, now let's open our eyes. Let's come back. You've got to get the mind to become the voice. Do y'all understand? You might connect and say, my spirit. Yes. My spirit needs to become the voice. My flesh needs to submit because my flesh don't make the good decisions. I see how these worlds are so parallel and how we use different language for the very same thing. And I'm encouraged as a believer because everything I've learned about my faith is now facts. They call it quantum physics now. But I've been learning this, right? Some of us have been learning this since VBS. Some of us, it's new. It's all good. What this tells us to do is that we've got to learn how to be metacognitive. We got to learn how to monitor our thoughts. We have to learn how to embrace stillness. How do you embrace stillness? Looking at something that's still. You can't look at something moving and embrace stillness. That's hypnotic. That's not stillness. You got to look at something still and embrace stillness. Close your eyes is the best way. Focusing more attention on your thought process, on how you're feeling, on your behaviors, and less attention on your environment. This is meditation. You can access, the best part about this is where you can access and enter the operating systems of your brain. It's like going to the computer and going to that funny part where all the words are moving real fast. That part of the brain, you got to shut down the neocortex. You got to go quiet. You got to empty the mind. If you are a person that I can't do that, Wanda. Like every time I do that, I start thinking about all these things. Listen, get that under control. It's like a bunch of little wild cats in your brain, right? You're trying to hoard them. Visualize putting them all in visualize all of the stuff that's out there that's worrying you. You're not getting rid of it. You're not forgetting it. You're putting it in a drawer. I'm gonna put it in a drawer. I'm gonna put all of it in a drawer right here. And I'm gonna close the drawer for a moment. And I'm gonna step away from that drawer. It's there. I'm gonna open it in a moment. Because some of you even have anxiety about going quiet because you kind of need to remember all the things that are stressing you or not forget or order or retally. It's just like now that your familiar vibration, your familiar emotion, your familiar spirit is anxiety. So much so that you get anxious about going quiet. Now look, like if you don't unlearn that, we have to unlearn that. That's intense, but it's some people's reality. Unlearn that. And so he talks a lot about unlearning. You got to make a change from being to observing. This process of becoming familiar with the self works so precisely and vigilantly, he says. And you get so good at scanning your thoughts, at being so much more the mind over the body that you can scan your thoughts. This is how you know you're starting to get there. You'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm hungry. Okay, no. Okay, hold up. Before I even get in the car, before I go anywhere, what's your goal? What are you going to eat? How much are you going to eat of it? I use this example because people can relate to this. You know, let me make a good decision because if I don't, all I know, next thing I know, I'm leaving the Wendy's parking lot halfway a burger in. I ain't know how I got there, right? So first, when you start having those conversations, that means you're having conscious thought. Good, that's it. That's the first one. Ladies, if you're married, right? The one I can relate with is like when he says something and I just know I got the words. I'm like, conscious thought. Don't you go there. Because you already know you can start World War III right now. But I'm not even going to do that. And I'm going to be so good at it, I'm not even going to say to him, "Ooh, you lucky I'm not going to say nothing right now." See? Some of us, that's our conscious conversation to ourselves. Like, girl, don't react. Another one, if you're about to react on a comment on social media, someone says something and you're like, that is not true. That is not a fact. Excuse me, I'm ready. I got the time today. We about to fight. Ding, ding, ding. But then you go, you know what? I'm learning to be a woman that don't got to react to everything. Let me go ahead and delete that whole thing and back it up. Congratulations, conscious thought. You're being metacognitive. That's literally the first step. They call that self-awareness. All right. That is something no other mammal on earth can do. You are the only person that is capable of being metacognitive. You can use that word too. When somebody's pressing you, be like, "Ooh, you lucky I'm being metacognitive today." What does that mean? That is what we're going for. That's step one, because then you can plan a course of action. You can say, you know what? I'm not even going to argue with him. Here's what I'm going to do instead. Let me go for a walk. Let me go say, you know what? Put my leggings on and say, hey, I'm about to go for a jog. Let me do that. Something else. You're creating a course, and now you are making room for a new personality. Okay? That's how you make room. You got to observe the old self. You got to say, I'm no longer being it. You got to separate those familiar behaviors, patterns, reactions. You got to separate from that conscious self. And now you have control over it. Because here's the truth about the brain. Nerve cells that no longer fire together, no longer wire together. Nerve cells that no longer fire together, no longer wire together. If you're trying to stop yelling, but you're just a yeller, you need to commit to like examining your brain. I'm not gonna yell, I'm not gonna yell, I'm not gonna yell, I'm not gonna yell. When do I usually yell? When these kids are trying me at bedtime, when I told them it's bedtime and they're not going to bed and I yell upstairs, get your ass to bed. I'm not gonna do that. So I'm gonna remind myself, let me set an alarm for 7 p.m. because that's right around bedtime. Alarm go off, do not yell. I'm not gonna yell, I am not gonna yell. I am aware that I'm yelling and now I'm making a plan. What am I gonna do instead of yell? You know what? I'm gonna do something way scarier. I'm gonna walk up there and I'm gonna use my whisper voice and say, I said, get your butt to bed. Try me and there will be consequences next. Do you understand? That's what I'm gonna do. That's way creepier. So now I got a new plan. I'm not yelling no more. Do you hear me? Do you feel me, guys? So that's how you can create new personality, because if you stop doing it, then even if you do it, you're going to be aware you're doing it. You're going to stop doing it. You're going to have a new tool. That's the big deal. You just can't stop doing something. You got to replace it. Napoleon Hill says that anytime you remove a thought, you have to fill the void, or you're going to go back to that old thought. So what are you going to replace it with? I'm not going to hit the drive-through for lunch. All right, what are you going to replace it with? You got to have a plan or you will fail, because the body's in control of the mind because it's so out of practice. Nerve cells that don't fire together no longer wire together. So how do you unwire it? You got to make conscious decisions to stop that behavior. I'm going to stop doing that. Let me give you guys an example. I used to be hooked on going through the Starbucks drive-through. I don't even know when that started. Actually, yes, I do. It started with my job as a nurse. Okay. I was mentally preparing for this ridiculous shift that I was about to do. And I would get the kids to daycare. I would give myself an extra 8 minutes to get through that drive-through and get my venti hazelnut mocha, extra whipped cream. Yes, I want the chocolate on top. Thank you. And I literally would just do it. I would just do it. There was times that I didn't even have clinicals or work that day. And I would be dropping the kids at daycare because I pay my money and I'm gonna get my money's worth and I'm gonna get a free day, right? Because mama's off. I got things to do. And so I would drop them off at daycare. And I meant to go home. I didn't have work that day, but I would look up and be like, oh my God, I'm in the Starbucks drive-thru. Wow. And I had also gained a lot of weight. And what's crazy was I didn't feel like I was eating a lot. I didn't really have time to eat like that. But the one thing that I did realize was, I've been drinking those mocha chocolate mates every morning. a lot of it. I had no idea there was 10 pumps of sugar in that. Ooh, that's like 5 shot glasses of sugar syrup. I had no idea, but that's what I was doing. And I said, I don't want to do that no more. Cause listen, like I like my food. So if I can cut on some of the coffee and that makes a difference, I'm gonna try that first. So I cut the coffee, but I literally had to be like, I'm not going to Starbucks. Okay, so what am I gonna do? I'm buying me a little cute cup. I'm make my own little coffee at home. None of that stuff added. Make my own little coffee at home. I'm gonna make a plan. Leave with my little coffee at home. Guess what, guys? I would have my coffee and I would still sometimes go, oh my gosh, I'm in Starbucks. And then I would get to the thing and they're like, what can I help you with? I'm like, I don't even need nothing. Water, please. You know, it was that strong. To break that, I had to be aware. I had to make a plan. And then I had to beat that plan into submission. I had to literally, if you have to, set alarms on your phone for your trigger times, right? If you know you're hooked on that Starbucks and you're trying to stop that, set an alarm for when you usually go through that Starbucks, 7:45. I am more than this. I have control over my body, not the other way around. I command it to do what I say. My mind is in control now, right? Put it in its place if you have to do that. That's how I really stopped going to Starbucks, guys. And now it's like a treat if we go. It's like a date morning, like a little morning date if we do that. We make our black coffee at home, no sugar, no milk, a little bit of cinnamon. And I promise you, I have been able to stay under a particular weight. Not that I'm where I want to be, but I've been able to just curb that extra 10 pounds, 15 pounds, just cutting out all that sugar in the morning. Right? It's something I wanted, but I had to be aware. I had to make a plan. I had to implement the plan. What if I fail? Implement it again. What if I forget? Implement more of a plan. Persistence. Because your body's going to go what's familiar. This is in everything. I had a friend reach out to me yesterday because she was in a dispute with her spouse and it was high emotion. Oh, they were just yelling and they were just all over the place. Like, oh, y'all having a good old time, huh? And I was like, girl, stop. Yes, you're hurt. You're in your feelings. Stop. This is a young problem that y'all arguing about. Young. This is a young argument. Congratulations. But you got mad, then he got mad. Then it was like, nah, you need to leave. Nah, you need to leave. Y'all know where it goes from there. The grown folk on the line go, yeah, that's a young problem right there because ain't nobody going nowhere at my house. We don't got shoes on. Young people do things like that. Get out. No, you get out. I'm calling your dad. I'm calling your dad. I'm going to call your cousin. Just young stuff, right? I love you, young people. You know you are the fruit of the world. And so I said, you're in your emotions. Let's back it up. Let's back it up. Let's back it all the way up. What happened? And you know when they first tell you what happened, you just got to listen. Let them get it out and listen with wisdom. I said, okay. So you wanted to one-up him. That's what I hear. You knew how to trigger him and you did. You knew exactly what to do that would elevate that argument. And you did it. You pulled it. What do you mean? I wasn't doing that because no. Let's be honest, daughter of Eve, okay? Just so you know, I always say that's the daughter of Eve inside of you that does things like that. Like we know how to one up the situation. We're very clever. We're very smart. Women are scary smart. All the women that are married are laughing right now in the chat box. What do you mean? What's the problem? I just, all I did was, because we know how to outsmart this situation. We are like master negotiators from a young age. And I talked to my friend and I said, here's what happened. That little innocent thing you right there, or that part where you said, and I just walked away and left them alone. No. You did what? You left the house without saying nothing? Probably slammed the door too, huh? Hey, tell me the truth, friend. Hey, you slammed the door? You jiggled the keys before you left? Yeah, you did. I know you did. Girl. Yeah, you did. Okay, well, and then what would you do? And he probably called you, right? And then what'd you do? You declined it right away. You got to make sure you get that blood pressure up, right? And then when he come acting a fool, you're like, why are you tripping? That's what you did? Oh, okay, I know that card. That's a situation where literally tiny little emotions are making the decisions, right? You're just doing what's familiar. And before you know it, you get yourself in a situation like, ain't even all this serious. We don't even have to be standing out here in the front yard with all your clothes out here and the police around us right now. I'm scaring young people, but y'all know what I mean. It gets there fast. It gets there fast. Why? Emotions. We're doing the familiar. We got to unwire that. We got to be super aware, tell the truth. That's the thing though. You're gonna have to tell yourself the truth. And a lot of us are not willing to be in the honesty zone with ourselves. Can I say something? That's like me saying like, I don't even eat that much. Like I really don't even be eating that much. And I can't lose weight. It really don't take that many Whoppers. You know, it really only kind of take one a day. So I believe that you don't eat that much. You know, it only take one drive-through meal a day. So yeah, that's the only thing you eat. But that combined with no sleep, no water, no exercise, that's enough, right? We pacify ourselves and we don't tell the truth with ourselves. And sometimes we're even insulted by the truth. When somebody has a trigger point on you, that's when you got to examine yourself. And every time you get angry, someone makes you angry, you need to say, what is it that I wanted that I did not get? Because that's what anger is. Anger is you throwing a temper tantrum about the things you didn't get in some form or fashion. A lot of times you'll disguise it as, no, I was violated. That's why I'm angry. Okay, maybe back it up. Why were you violated? Unless someone physically harmed you, how did that violate you? What thought process did you think that released chemicals that made you feel violated? That thought process is what needs to be on the jury for yourself. You need to examine it and you need to be able to tell yourself the truth. Guys, this chapter is so thick. This chapter is so thick. Like this information, we ain't even 3 pages in, believe it or not. Whew. Constantly thinking, what is a greater expression of myself that I would rather be? This contemplation is literally building new neurological networks. You are literally fire and wiring new sequences, new patterns, new combinations. Why? All because you are thinking differently. And this is what we call changing the mind. You are now turning off that frontal lobe and having an internal experience. A new self has already been realized in the brain. And now it will soon become your new familiar state of mind. Why? Because it was a thought that became an experience, that became an emotion, that became an ideal, and now it becomes your familiar. And here's the best part. When you make real good, real change, literally your DNA and your genes change because there is a law. Oh, this is my favorite part. There is a quantum law. Y'all know laws. They are. If I throw this pencil in the air, by law, it comes down. That's a law. Can't be negotiated with. It's a law. This is a law, a quantum law. If you can maintain that modified state of mind and body, independent of the external environment, let me translate that. Keep being your new self, no matter what is happening around you. I don't care what's happening around you. It don't matter. You commit to being your new self. Here's when it matters the most. It matters the most when you're challenged. So you say you're going to have a good relationship with your spouse. And now you guys in an argument. But if you act like how you always act, you going to get what you always get. You have no shot. You got to be willing to go, this is about the time I would cuss them out right now. This is about it right here. This is it. This is about the time I would yell something slick. This is about the time right now. I'm not going to do it. We're going to replace it with, what am I going to replace it with? I'm going to replace it with, hey, baby, this is a place that I don't want us to be. I need to go on a walk. I'll be back. I'll be right back. I just need to go on a walk. I need to cool off and go on a walk. I'll be back. Thank you. Walk off. Be mature about it. Walk off, right? Some of y'all are like, oh, Lord, you better than I am. But it's it. Listen, do you want to be right or do you want to be in relationship? That's it. Do you want to be right or do you want to be in a relationship? Do you want to create new patterns? Do you want your child, when you are long gone from this earth, to behave like the old self? Or do you want to know that no matter what happens to them and no matter who they marry, within reason, that they will likely have a long, prosperous, beautiful relationship because they have been taught how to manage the stress and how to use tools to avoid creating a nasty external environment. New self. And every time you practice new self, you are rewiring your brain because it's a conscious decision. This requires daily mindful attention. Here's the law. If you can maintain that body and mindset no matter what's happening, and the body's emotional needs, and greater than time, basically, if you can stay your new self, no matter what's happening in your external environment, no matter what your body is trying to tell you how to feel, when you feel that anger boiling up, when you feel that sadness boiling up, when you fear those tears about to hit, when you can abandon time and quit letting time be the great stressor of all things, when you can do that and maintain it, quantum law says that something should show up differently physically in your world. Something. I don't know what, but something will show up different in your world if you maintain the new self. Let me ask you, even if you don't know what it is, don't you want it? It might be a relationship. It might be a career journey. It might be an opportunity. It might be a breakthrough. I don't know. I know it's something positive. I'll take it. It's like a surprise egg for adults. That is how you create an external change with an internal world. It's not just foo-foo. It's not maybe. It is quantum law. Here's how you got to think about it. I literally used this as an example yesterday to my friend with the relationship problem. Okay. I used this, and this is how you got to think about it. If you want to close your eyes, you can. I am. You have a garden in front of you. Okay. Your job is to cultivate that garden. Now, here's the thing. That garden, it ain't a garden yet. It's literally just some untamed, unattended to land. Just mesquite trees and weeds. Basically just whatever, quote, naturally grew, unquote. Whatever naturally grew, that's what it is. That's your mind. Whatever naturally grew, that's what's there. For some of y'all, you have great examples of relationship and marriage, and that's beautiful. And you have a beautiful rose bush out there among that uncultivated land. For some of us, we've never had positive experiences or witnesses or people living out a positive, healthy, loving, fulfilled marriage in front of us. So we don't got that. We got a tumbleweed. That's what we got over there sitting in the back corner. But this uncultivated plot of land, whatever it is, it's uncultivated and it's yours. And what's the first thing you got to do? You got to clear it. You got to clear the land. Get all that wild, overgrown everything out the way. You got to clear all that out. You got to remove the trees that are growing wild and untamed. You got to remove the weeds. You ever pulled weeds? Woo! You ever pull some weeds for real? You got to dig deep because they don't want to come out right. You got some that come out real quick. You got some that are in there. You got to pull all that out. There's some rocks too that have just been pushed up. You got to get those out. You got to take all that out. Now, does it look like a garden yet? It looks like dirt. It looks like dirt. That's self-awareness. It's not enough to just be aware. You got to pull that stuff out. And now what do we got to do? We got to tend to the soil. We got to give it new action. We got to say, well, instead of yelling every time I get upset, what am I going to do? All right, so I'm going to take a deep breath and I'm going to get my words together and I'm going to communicate to my spouse what I felt. And I'm going to ask let me have some time to go take a walk. That's the soil process. That's taking out the old. Now we're going to put in the new. Putting in the new, what do you want to put in? That's why it's a garden. You get to pick. You're not just allowing whatever is there to naturally grow. You are pulling things out. You are ordering it. You are making beautiful. You are the creator of that garden. If you're in a relationship, the way I best explain marriage is two people that come together and they agree to make a garden together in life. What's that mean? That means when you come to the table, you got to understand there's some weeds, there's some trees, there's some rocks. Oh, I know you didn't see it in the beginning when you bought the land. I know that's the trick. but there. It's definitely there. I commit to making a garden out of this with you. That's what relationship and marriage is about. Okay, you can open your eyes. The process of change requires unlearning first and learning all over again. You got to interrupt your emotional addiction. When those thoughts and feelings that used to signal the body are stopped by your conscious efforts, the liberated energy from those limited emotions, basically now you got some extra energy, can be released. And now you have energy in which to design and create a new destiny. When you say, I don't know what I want to be. I don't know what I want to have. I don't know what my future is. I don't know what I want. Of course you don't. You ain't never had no free energy to figure it out. Your whole energy's been on surviving. You've been just trying to survive. Survival is exhausting. Ooh, I start applying this to civil rights issues. When your energy is only reserved to survive, you cannot create design. You cannot have new destiny when all your energy is reserved to survive. And so we got to unoppress ourselves. We have to see even how we have oppressed ourselves by our thinking. What boxes have we put ourselves in because of our thinking? How have we abused ourselves because of our thinking? How have we limited ourselves because of our thinking? You got to be metacognitive, almost have an outer body mindful experience to look down and say, let me examine this human. What can they do better? What can they do that would be more beneficial to them? What decisions should they make or stop making? Have some self-compassion, to be honest, self-awareness to see it, and then you can break the addiction. Break the addiction to the body, break the addiction to the environment, break the addiction to time. Dr. Joe Dispenza does something real unique. He'll say all these amazing things, right? And then every once in a while, he'll use a very specific phrase. He's really good with words, right? Every once in a while, he'll use a little phrase, and I'll be like, huh? You ain't getting that by me. That's a whole book right there. So I wanted to see if you guys feel what I felt when this next sentence hits. Only when we think greater than the big three can we truly live independent of them and re-establish dominion. I'm not going to church scream at you. I'm not going to church scream at you. Y'all got to forgive me. I was raised in the South. We yell at each other. What? Sorry, I church screamed. I can't help it. Only when you commit to live as your greater self can you get back your dominion. What? That's the book right there. That's it. That line is the book right there. Dominion over what? Dominion, period. Dominion, period. Dominion over your thoughts, dominion over your depression, dominion over your anxiety, dominion over your confusion, dominion over your addiction, dominion over your anger, dominion over everything. Dominion, period. You got to commit to living to a better self, not just a reactive self, an emotional self. You got to commit to change, commit to growing that garden. Only then do you get back the dominion that you've been craving, that you crave, the dominion that is your birthright. You got to control self. No one's out to get you. You are going to get you more than anybody else. You got to control self so you can get back your dominion. You are literally royalty outside of the kingdom, outside of the throne, not knowing how to behave. And you don't know how to get back. You got to control self so you can get back your dominion. Break the addiction. Step one, awareness. Awareness. What needs to change, friends? What needs to change? What do you want to change? What do you need to do more of? What do you need to do less of? What is that? I'm telling y'all, this chapter's thick. It gets geeky. I'm concluding the call because I feel like this is a great place to conclude the call. But I might have to ask for another session because we didn't even get to talking about how the brain is making us have these addictions, how the brain is processing change, how the brain can execute that change. Maybe you've been wanting change for a long time. You done made it to step 3, the step 2, over and over and over again. Step 2, first, self-compassion. 2, self-awareness. Then we create a plan and we change, right? Some of you have made it to step 2 so many times. I know I want something different. I am aware I want something different. Congratulations, you're doing better than 90% of the world, but gosh, it is frustrating to be there. Hope deferred makes the heart sick. You're aware, and you never really understood, how do I break this? How do I stop this? How do I stop doing that? That familiar pattern that I don't like about myself. How do I stop? This is how you stop. You confess it with your mouth. What? That sounds familiar. You first say what it is. I want to stop gossiping. I don't like that about myself. I've hurt people because of it. I've been embarrassed because of it. I want to stop doing that. All right, awesome. What are you going to do instead? I'm going to be aware when I do it, and I'm going to call myself out on that. And instead, I'm going to bind my tongue. You know, I'm teaching my daughter how not to be reactive, because she'll do this to her little brother. Stop! Right? And I'm like, ooh, dang, that's me. Ooh, I hate when they do that. So I'm teaching her, when she gets those feelings, Amy, stand up, jumping jacks real quick. 10, real quick, knock them out. 10, 10, 10, because she loves jumping jacks, pull up, stuff like that. And I'm trying to teach her to change her state of emotion, to change her behavior. This is how you do that. You change it, guys. You've got to be your higher self. You got to be your better self. I want to get another session with you guys, because this next part, he basically is using children as an example. And oh my gosh, as a parent, y'all, I told my husband, we missing out. We are not, we got to be implementing this stuff. We're tripping. We got to set our children up. So I want to try to get another session. Randy says, keep going. This baby has been an hour. It's going to be a 2-hour listen. We're going to get geeky. I think we're at a really amazing stopping point to first, I want you to look in that garden, and I want you to just find out what rocks and weeds you need to take out first. Just start there. And so I think I want to do Friday morning, same time. If it's okay with Randy, I'm going to take over his time slot. Because babe, honestly, like real talk, this is another hour. It's another hour. And I want to respect our hour together. But we're going to continue this Friday morning. You guys, we literally still have 45 pages of content. Y'all are never, ever going to believe how much you are going to fall in love with learning about the brain. The brain waves. There's some truths in here I had no idea. We literally are electricity. We are literally pinging electricity. Think of a jellyfish. You know how it glows at night, right? That is almost a physical representation of your brain and your spinal cord. It's all electric, and it's very measurable. Man. And so we're going to talk about that Friday morning. Join me here. We'll finish this chapter. We're going to conclude chapter 8. I love you guys. I'm so grateful to grow with you. I want you to have first self-compassion. Okay. If you are real judgy to self, if you're hurtful to self, if you're like, if you're talking to yourself in a way that's not loving, guys, you're going to put a guard up to self. You're going to lie and pacify behavior because it don't feel good to be attacked. So don't attack yourself. Just like, I'm human, and everything I'm doing is a product of something I learned. Let me unwire it. Self-compassion, self-awareness. Look at that garden. What needs to be taken out? What needs to be taken out? Because now we're about to take all that junk out, turn that soil up, and we're about to replace it with good things. And it's going to work. That's what meditation is. Close your eyes. Shut down the neocortex. Shut down the thoughts. Focus on your breathing. Get to know your mind. When was the last time you were there with your mind, with your spirit? Get to know it again. Spend more time there. I love you guys. I'm excited for Friday. We'll finish this up. I appreciate you so much. I'll stop and conclude our recording. If you're watching this recording, if you're watching this playback, thank you so much for being here with us. We'll be sure to follow this up with part 2 of chapter 8, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. Thank you for being here.